6 shots was the margin of victory for Brian Harman. Greg, I mean, how will we look back at this major championship? You know, I was on HQ, and this is different from Danny Willett being the benefactor of Jordan Spieth's collapse at the Masters. Right?
We got to bring that up.
Sorry. But like, you know what I mean? Like when you get this like 100 to 1 or 200 to 1 winner at a major championship, and you think about how that's going to be looked at, 5 or 10 years from now. Brian Harman lapped the field. He tied records that only Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy had. He wins at Royal Liverpool, which, Rory, Tiger, Peter Thompson, Bobby Jones, Walter Hagen, et cetera, et cetera. This was a historically large victory.
Yes. And again, 6 shots is funny, as you mentioned that, because Patrick mentioned the bonus putts. I think he made 6 putts outside of 25 feet, which right there's your 6-shot win. So that I found that to be interesting. But how is this viewed? I think some of it, you look at the past majors, what we've had in recent times, and there's been a lot of stars that have won majors. And if they're not stars, like Wyndham Clark, there's an expectation that comes from it. Maybe Gary Woodland is the last guy that's not a star, or expectations weren't really affected a whole lot from it. But beyond that, I mean, we've had big time guys win these major championships. So it's really hard to kind of assess how this one is rated, because in a way, I mean, it's probably going to get him onto the Ryder Cup team in all likelihood. And I'm not sure what it does for him beyond that, other than a whole lot of confidence. A wonderful player on the PGA Tour, but the way that he is in interviews, the way that he is off the golf course, he's very cool, calm, and collected, right? There's not a whole lot of star power with Brian Harman. And I think that affects the way that it's remembered. So it's remembered as a phenomenal week from Brian Harman that made him a major champion. And I'm not sure that it's going to get rated as one of the best performances of all time in a major. Just because it's not going to stack up to performances of Tiger Woods and John Rahm and Rory McIlroy.
Did he beat Rory from 2014?
Rory's 2014 Open Championship victory, his margin of victory, is that what you're looking for?
Give me total strokes.
Oh, total strokes was 271.
What was Harman?
271.
I agree with Greg, though. I think you kind of got to lump it into a Gary Woodland type or a Jimmy Walker type major, even though it was a historical performance and a tremendous achievement. At the end of the day, when you look back at major championships, you're not going to scroll through Wikipedia and be like, oh my goodness, remember the 2023 Open with Brian Harman? No, probably not. You'll instead be like, oh my goodness, the 2022 Masters with Scotty Scheffler was amazing, or something else, because who wins majors heavily affects how people remember it.
Yeah. I just don't know that should, and I don't know that you guys are saying this, but I think in terms of a historic, it's kind of Martin Keimer-ish, right? From the 2014 US Open.
Great comparison.
At Pinehurst, where I know Keimer's won 2 major championships, which makes not a lot of sense, but it's almost like this outlier major championship historic major championship performance. And I actually think it speaks more to how difficult it is for stars to win majors, right? You look at Rahm, you look at Fleetwood, I don't know if Fleetwood and Rahm are not in the same category, but you look at Rahm, you look at Rory, you look at some of the guys that were up there, and you're like, man, what do I have to do? Golf is so different in that you can't play defense. You have no control over what Brian Harman is doing. It's different than tennis. It's different than baseball, football, like all these, even most individual sports. I saw somebody the other day compare it to swimming. Was that you, Patrick?
No, I compared it to the Tour de France.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's
It
just
kind of
such
felt
a
like that, by the way, all week.
it's,
with the
it-
breakaway.
it's just
Thank you,
such a weird, it's crazy that somebody like Harman, who's a fine player, but not a great one, can just do this, and John Rahm can do nothing about it. Right. And like, he can't defend it. He can't, whatever. It's just, I mean, Rory's number, I tweeted it. It's like, he's beaten, so 7 of the last 8 majors, take the 2023 Masters out of it. He's beaten or tied 992 out of 1,019 competitors. So 97.4%. 0 major wins. Brian Harman comes in. He has 1 top 25 in a major this year, and it's a claret jug. That's insane. Like, what do you do with that? You know, I think that part of it is what I think about often, is that, and we've talked about this, Rick, is that consistency is almost not, it's inconsistency is disproportionately rewarded in golf, probably more than anywhere else, which is just, it's crazy. It's so difficult to reconcile all that.
You want to guess who gained the most strokes in major championships this year? I've done the tally.
It's probably Scheffler, Brooks, or Hovland.
Scheffler, 44, 0 majors. Victor, 42, 0 majors. Rahm, 41, major. Koepka,
Where's my boy Patrick Cantlay?
Cantlay is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. So it is Scotty, Victor, Rahm, Brooks. So there's 2 major winners there. Rory, Xander, Cantlay, Tommy, Cam Smith, Tom Kim, Hideki. You go on. We don't get to Wyndham Clark for a while. Colin, Patrick Reed, Cam Young, Jordan Spieth, Sepp Straka, Terrell Hatton. Then we get to Wyndham.
Damn.
Then we go Shane Lowry, Minwoo, Ricky, Sahith, who missed a cut this week, Russell Henley. Then you get to Brian Harman.
Damn. Our boy Rory with Tommy and the rest of that lot, Cantlay and Xander. Tough scene. But Kyle, I'm going to bite back on your Martin Keimer take.
Okay.
I completely disagree. He had just won the Players' Championship, and he was he had been world number 1 before. So
I guess, yes, I'm with you. Martin Keimer's a much better historical player than Brian Harman. I think I'm more talking about the way that we will remember the victory more than I am the player himself.
Okay, that's fair.
I would add,
just personality driven, kind of.
I think this performance kind of reminded me of Brian. I was thinking, watching Brian Harman, of Martin Keimer throughout this week after Friday's round. You know, Martin Keimer shot 265s to start, separated himself, and then, you know, every time there was it looked like he was going to flinch, he made a 10-footer or got up and down from the short side with a putter from off the green. And just kind of in a similar way, we were rooting for a mistake because you want to have some drama, like you said, Kyle. And the short game and the putting around that 10-foot mark really kept Keimer and his lead untouchable. And it did the same for Brian Harman this week. So I think it's interesting to compare the two.
Harman's a killer. Like, he doesn't have the skill set that some of these top guys have, but put him on the Ryder Cup team. I'm in. Like, he's a menace, and that's to his credit. Like, it was easy for people to root against him or to pull for drama or wanted to be more competitive or whatever. But I think we should appreciate, like, that dude went out and like did it, you know, over the last 36, and we've seen a lot of guys not do that. And I think people are what's getting lost in some of this is people are just not appreciating that he's kind of nasty. And I loved that about him over the last 2 rounds.
Largest margins of victory in men's major championships: 15, Tiger, 2000, U.S. Open. Old Tom Morris, 13, the 1862 Open Championship. Tiger did it at the 97 Masters. That was 12 strokes. Young Tom Morris, 12, 1870 British Open. Willie Smith, 11 at the 18. Willie Smith's got a great story. 1899 Open, U.S. Open champion. he moved to Mexico City to become the golf pro. He would not leave his post at the during the Mexican Revolution. He was injured at the whole thing's it's insane. You should go read his like Wikipedia page. It's awesome. But what?
I did not envision talking about Willie Smith and the Mexican Revolution when I woke up today.
Listen, bud, I've had a lot of time. This was a 36-hole coronation. I've had a lot of time to dive into all of this stuff. So Brian Harman adding his name to some of the largest major championship victories of all time. I think what we'll do here, we'll give Brian Harman this A block. We'll reset and get to some of the chase pack and everything else that happened. So first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Wake up to football highlights and news from around the world with the one and only Morning Footy team.
Rise and shine, football fans. Welcome to Morning Footy.
Start your all-day football craze with Morning Footy, part of the all-new Golazo Network.
And we're back. The board behind Brian Harman was tight, Greg. 4 golfers at 7 under. Tom Kim, Sepp Straka, Jason Day, John Rahm. 2 more at 6 under. Emiliano Grillo, Rory McIlroy. 2 more at 5 under. Sharma, Young. I mean, this removed Brian Harman from the equation. This thing was very tight for who was going to finish second.
Yeah, I mean, you end up with if you remove Brian Harman, you end up with a 4-way playoff.
Well,
I know that things would obviously change if you remove Brian Harman, but ultimately some really good stuff behind him. But it also in the peloton, let's call it, Patrick. The peloton had a hard time moving today and yesterday, and it was really hard to get for the right guy, the guy that's the closest, like Cam Young today. It was hard for them to be the guys to make the move. I forget who was in second. I guess Fleetwood. If Fleetwood plays the John Rahm round, this gets really tight. But those guys, those closest competitors to Brian Harman, couldn't quite move to make it a real threat. And that was in large part, I think, the difficulty of the golf course. Especially that middle stretch. Rory really struggled in that, 7 to 13 area. And a lot of guys had a hard time in that area of the golf course piling up birdies. So the test of this major championship, I think, really kept the chase pack back.